Good evening, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again, and welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I cover pretty much everything that went down in this past weekend's wrestling pay-per-view slate. That includes Impact Wrestling Under Siege, WWE Night of Champions, and to round it all out, AEW Double or Nothing. So sit tight, buckle in, and let's do this. Where we will, of course, start off with Impact Wrestling Under Siege, which took place this past Friday. And we start out with Nick Aldis versus Kenny King. First time ever matchup for the promotion. Kenny King, multiple time X Division champion. Aldis, two-time World Heavyweight Champion in Impact. And, they had a great opening bout. Very technical, very well-rounded. Including Desmond Jean? I forget the kid's name. Getting up on the apron, trying to distract in favor of King. Obviously, that doesn't work. One Kingsland Cloverleaf later. Your winner, Nick Aldis. Starting off his new reign in Impact with a W. Next up, we have a little promo from Jordynne Grace. She goes over some things she wanted to do before this matchup, including retiring Mickie James and regaining the Knockouts title. Now, obviously, that did not happen because Mickie James is on the shelf for the time being. So, she is just going to settle with regaining the title. And if I lose tonight, in which the stipulation for the Knockouts title match is if Jordynne Grace loses, as long as Purrazzo is champion, she cannot go for the title. So, a lot on the line on that match. Next matchup, we got a 6-man tag team match playa. As the Design take on Sami Callihan, Rich Swann, and the man who turns out to be the mystery partner, Jake Christ, formerly OVE member from, I wouldn't say early Impact, but like 2020's Impact. So, another really fun bout, really high-paced with Christ and Alan Angels in there. So that was a lot of fun. Big Khan showing off his power. But then, after a big old spin kick, a roll-up, your winners, Rich Swann, Sami Callihan, and Jake Christ. I do hope Jake sticks around for a bit in Impact and spices up the X Division a little bit. We then get a Santino Marella interview where it's revealed he is the one who grabbed the hair off of Dango's chest. And while he's not a wrestler anymore, he could not be more impartial with Dango. So, looks like that's going to be a rivalry going forward. It could be interesting to see who Santino throws at Dango. Next up, in an absolutely awesome bout, you have Trinity in her second Impact bout, taking on Giselle Shaw. And honestly, these two tore it down. It might be my match of the weekend. Like, without a doubt. I think it's the best match of the weekend. Your winner, after a Starstruck submission, it would be Trinity. So, nice to see her get more in the win column. I don't know if she's going directly for the Knockouts title, but I guess we'll see. We then get a brief Subculture interview where they reveal they're great, happy to be here, and they are ready for this bout. It is then interrupted by the Good Hands, who say, they have a shot in line at the tag titles before these guys. Then Subculture reveals, when we win the tag team titles, Good Hands would be our first defense. So, we'll see how that goes. And that leads right into the tag team titles on the line as the ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, take on the Subculture. That's Mark Andrews making his Impact return, and Flash Morgan Webster. These two actually teamed at first in NXT UK, but now that's no longer a thing. They have brought their act to Impact. And honestly, this was another really, really good tag team match. Both sides really went well, and it was foot on the pedal right out of the gate. But then after a super kick, art of finesse, fold, your winners, the ABC. Man, I do believe this gets my must-watch match of the night, because it was a dang good match. Next up, the X Division title is on the line as Chris Sabin tries to dethrone Trey Miguel. And these two did not let up for a second. It was X Division at its best. However, the finish comes with Trey Miguel hanging over the side. And then he gets his spray can, which he sprayed the X Division title with, and right to the face while the ref, I guess, was looking away. I don't know what happened there. And then after a roll-up, your winner, Trey Miguel. A very good match. I did not like that Trey had to take another shortcut, although that's been his character. Hopefully we can see someone dethrone him soon. Next up, we got a number 1 contenders 6-way scramble match where the winner gets a World Heavyweight title shot at the next show, which I believe is Sacrifice? No, it's Against All Odds. That's what it is. We got Moose, Eddie Edwards, Jonathan Gresham, Yuya Uemura, Alex Shelley, and Frankie Kazarian. And oh boy, this match was absolute chaos. It was definitely an interesting watch to try to keep up with. Thankfully I did. But your winner, after a shell-shock submission, Alex Shelley. So he is the new number 1 contender to the world title. We'll get to that one in a little bit, don't you worry. We then get Trey backstage, gloating a little bit on his win on Chris Sabin. Sabin then shows up, tries to jump Trey, and then security immediately breaks it up. So, looks like that feud is continuing, and I'm definitely kind of okay with that. Next up, we got the Knockouts title match as Jordynne Grace takes on Deonna Purrazzo. And honestly, these two clashing styles worked really, really well together. You had the elusiveness and the technical skill of Purrazzo with the power of Grace. It worked very well. But overall, your winner, after a Queen's Gambit from the middle rope, which that was pretty unique looking, Deonna Purrazzo, which means Jordynne Grace can't have any more title shots as long as Purrazzo is champion. And finally, for Under Siege, you have the World Heavyweight title match, and it is no disqualifications. You have Steve Maclin defending against PCO. And boy, oh boy, these two beat 7 Shades of Dang out of one another. They used cookie sheets, chairs, ladders. They did thumbtacks. They used absolute everything in their arsenal. But after a KIA, your winner, Steve Macklin, still world champion. Macklin then gets a mic, says, Scott D'Amore, you said post-match you'd put the title on me and we'd shake hands. So why don't you come out here and do that? Out comes Scott D'Amore. He puts the title back on Macklin's waist. D'Amore extends his hand. Macklin bows out of the ring, pretty much saying, yeah, that time for respect is over. You will never have my respect. Then from behind D'Amore, who is still in the ring, it's Bully Ray making his Impact return. He then starts choking Scott D'Amore with his own tie. Then he gets Macklin back into the ring, tells him to get the tables, which they do. Then table gets set up. Bully Ray produces lighter fluid, sprays it all on the table. PCO gets up. He's back in the ring, but he's far too weak. Motor City Machine Guns try to get involved. They get fought off. Bully Ray then sets the table ablaze and power bombs Scott D'Amore right through it. Like, that is nuts. That is absolutely crazy. And an awesome way to end a pretty dang good show. And I will say, if you haven't watched it, go check it out, because it's a fun one. Alright, next up we got WWE Night of Champions. And we start out with the world crowning the new World Heavyweight Champion, as AJ Styles takes on Seth Rollins. And boy oh boy, these two went at it. It was an absolute excellent match. Blow for blow, counter for counter. Then your winner, after a pedigree and a big old stomp from the middle rope, Seth Rollins, your new World Heavyweight Champion. Then we see backstage in the trainer's office, you see Cody Rhodes getting worked on. Reveals he has a cast on his broken arm, so that's going to be a big old target for a little later. Next matchup, we got Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. And I know a lot of people are kind of harping on Trish for, oh, she's botching. I don't think she did too bad in this match. Like, you know, no one's perfect, so I'm going to give her a pass because she's a dang legend. This was definitely a real back and forth, a really good flow to the match. You had Trish bowing out of the ring a couple of times. Eventually, she goes underneath the ring for whatever reason. This isn't a no DQ match by any means. But then she gets pulled out by Becky, thrown back in the ring. Out comes Zoe Stark, who jumps her from behind. It's a Z360. Pushes Becky Lynch back into the ring, where Trish hits a Stratusfaction for the win. And now I gotta listen to this. Next matchup, very interesting match. You have the Intercontinental title on the line as Mustafa Ali takes on Gunther. And overall, this was a very, very underrated match. While Ali did get some offense in, including a couple of pinfalls, at many times I thought he was going to win the title. But overall, your winner, after a gigantic powerbomb, Gunther, who is now officially 100 days away from the Honky Tonk Man's record. Let him get the record. We then get a Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn backstage. They go over their history with the Usos, and then with Roman and Solo coming up. Sammy is feeling like maybe this is not their night. Kevin Owens keeps repeating, yeah, this is our night. This is our night. The Bloodline aren't going to take our titles away from us. Next up, we got a very interesting matchup for the Raw Women's title, and it is a WrestleMania rematch as Asuka takes on Bianca Belair. And a couple times we see Asuka try for the missed attack. It doesn't work. Bianca dives out of the way of it. And near the end, we see Asuka spit on her own hand with the mist. And then while she's up in the KOD, she rakes the eyes of Bianca Belair, which causes her pain. Then a big old Asuka kick, which that looked painful. Your winner and new Raw Women's Champion, Asuka. This was definitely a long time coming. I thought they could have done this title change at WrestleMania, where I think it would be a bit more impactful, but it gets the job done. I am glad that Asuka is a new champion. And then hopefully we get more Asuka in the near future. Our next matchup is for the SmackDown Women's Championship as Natalya takes on Rhea Ripley. And, oh boy, this was over quick. Rhea Ripley right on Natalya before the bell. They get on the outside, into the announce table a couple of times. Back in the ring. Headbutt, Riptide, winner. Still SmackDown Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. And I was hoping for something a little more. I like Natalya as much as the next guy, but I guess it is what it is. We then get a Seth Rollins interview, basically congratulating him on his world title win. Pretty much saying, yeah, it's been a long time since I've held gold in the WWE. Walking out as new champion feels absolutely correct. And the more they change, the more things stay the same. So, hopefully we get some interesting challengers for Seth in the near future. And we get some interesting, decent reign for the man. Next up, semi-main event time. We got Brock Lesnar versus an injured Cody Rhodes. Now at first, it does look like Brock Lesnar is about to dominate. But before he could hit an F5, Cody Rhodes hits him with his casted hand. Goes for a couple early crossroads. On the third time, he gets held up in the Kimura. Eventually, he does get to the ropes. It looks like, but Brock then backs him back out of the ropes. It looks like Cody passes out. Then they do the arm thing. Then he wakes up. Then he gets into the F5 position, countered right into a crossroads for a 2 count. And then Brock Lesnar with a big old F5 for another 2. Then Brock gets in the Kimura lock again, where Cody finally passes out. So your winner, Brock Lesnar. Then to end this particular matchup, Brock doesn't let go of the hold. Ref has to get involved. They finally separate them. So currently, Brock and Cody are 1-1. So more than likely, we are getting another rematch in the near future. And finalamo for Night of Champions. We got the tag team titles on the line as Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And now, at first, Solo was in there. It looked like he was going to dominate. But then Owens gets in real quick, counters it. Then eventually Roman does get a little dirty, but then tags back out to Solo. And from out of nowhere, while Solo has KO right on the announce table, out come the Usos to fight them off. It looks like they accidentally kick Solo with a couple of super kicks. But then Roman comes in and he's kind of bad-mouthing them. And then super kick from Jimmy to Roman. And why is that significant? Because Jimmy was kind of already automatically in because he was just protecting his brother. He doesn't really have those connections. So, then we have Solo, standing Solo in the ring. Stunner, Helluva Kick, your winners. Still tag team champions, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And what was a good match and some much needed storyline progression for the Bloodline. Does this mean the Bloodline's broken up? I'm not sure. I guess we'll see pretty dang soon. And finally, we have AEW Double or Nothing. A pretty gosh dang average show. Like, it wasn't bad, but there was a lot of what felt like filler. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of good stuff to this show, but ultimately it was what it was. And we start out with the Blackjack Battle Royal for Orange Cassidy's international title. And it goes about as well as a Battle Royal can. At a couple points, both of the best friends sacrifice themselves to save Orange Cassidy from elimination. It comes down to Cassidy and Swerve, where Cassidy hits the orange punch. It does look like he's a little bit too hurt, but then he tosses him over the rope. Both feet hit the floor. Your winner, still international champion, Orange Cassidy. Next up, in a very strange match, you have the unsanctioned match between Chris Jericho and Adam Cole. And right off the bat, you got the JAS and Roderick Strong and Sabu, who I completely forgot was involved in this thing, just brawling all over the ring area. They then get ushered to the back by other officials, and the match could start easily, and they brought pretty much all the weapons to this match. But after a few shots with the chain, and honestly, that's what ended it. A ref stoppage, which very rare from AEW. I don't love it because it's the he kicked too much blood stipulation. I don't love it, and overall it wasn't a great match. So hopefully we can get a one-on-one normal match between these two in the near future, which could be a heck of a lot better. Next up, we got the AEW Tag Team titles on the line as FTR take on Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett with Mark Briscoe, the special guest ref. Now, before the bell rings, Mark Briscoe checks the heels for weapons, and then it just goes hard pretty much right away. About middle of the match, Mark Briscoe catches Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt cheating a little bit, but then he throws them out, but then he takes a ref bump, which then Karen Jarrett gets the tag team titles, slips it to Jeff and Jay. They go for chair shots, but they miss. Then a trial guitar shot to Mark Briscoe, which he blocked. Then FTR counter a lethal injection into a big rig. Mark Briscoe is pretty much out. Aubrey Edwards tries to get in the ring, but is blocked by Karen. She gets taken out. That leads to a pile driver, a shot with the title, and then a stroke for a 2 count. Mark then gets back up. And then a big old big rig for the victory for FTR, which then leads into a nice moment between FTR and Mark Briscoe. Not a terrible match by any means, but it was way too much going on. Hopefully we get a normal-ish match in the near future. We then get a Ricky Starks interview, pretty much how he said, "Oh, yeah, I took out Bullet Club Gold from the Battle Royal." And then pretty much automatically Bullet Club Gold, that's Jay White and Juice Robinson, attack Ricky Starks. Then that leads to FTR making the save for him. So, FTR Bullet Club Gold? That could be an interesting little feud. Next up, we got the ladder match for the TNT title, as it's Christian Cage taking on Wardlow, and Christian Cage definitely using the ladders to his advantage. Luchasaurus does come out eventually, which leads to he has Wardlow goozled. This brings out Arn Anderson, who bites Luchasaurus' finger off. I don't even know what happened there. That was very weird. Eventually, Wardlow does get his Powerbomb Symphony. He sets up the ladder, goes up, gets the ladder down, gets the title. So your winner, still champion, Wardlow. Overall, not a terrible ladder match, but it wasn't the most interesting match I could have seen. Plus, you also got Arn Anderson biting off Luchasaurus' finger. That was a little weird. That took me a little out of it. So, overall, not a bad match. This next match, if I could call it that, is for the AEW Women's title, as Toni Storm took on Jamie Hayter. Now at first, Hayter's music played, she didn't come out, played again, then it turns out the other Outcasts beat her up. And this match obviously starts out with a beatdown out on the outside of the ring. Then the Outcasts force Jamie Hayter back in. At one point, you'll have Britt Baker and Sheeta coming to the aid of Hayter, but ultimately, after a clothesline and a Storm Zero, your winner, new AEW Women's Champion, Toni Storm. Now, would I like to see more from this? Sure, their first match was pretty dang underrated. So, for this match to go this badly tells me something more is up. Next up, we got the Trios title on the line in an open house, open challenge match for the titles. You have House of Black taking on the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, who answer the challenge. However, they stipulated they don't need an extra stipulation to beat you, which is fair. Definitely a really good back and forth bout. It did slow down by the middle-ish, but it then picked up a lot more. House of Black tried for Dante's Inferno, but that got countered. Then after an enziguri, a Fameasser, House of Black then hit the end. I mean, that's Malachi Black's finisher, which is, I forget what he called it in WWE, but his big old kick move. So your winners, still AEW Trios Champions, the House of Black. Personally, I'm okay with House of Black hanging on to the tag titles for now. Hopefully there's more for them going forward. Your next match is for the TBS Championship. You have Jade Cargill taking on Taya Valkyrie. Taya tries early on to get Road to Valhalla. That gets countered. Jade Cargill tries for Jaded. That gets countered. It was kind of a nice back and forth Haas match, almost. Blue Thunder Bomb, which that was impressive by Jade Cargill for a 2 count. Then after a spear, Road to Valhalla, 2 count for Jade. Then after one more Jaded, your winner, Jade Cargill. Then you get Mark Sterling on the mic, pretty much hyping up Jade Cargill, and then issues a new open challenge, pretty much saying Jade will defend at any time, anywhere, making her AEW return. You have Chris Statlander. Finally, Statlander healthy enough to come back. And apparently this match is official. So after a nice little back and forth between the two, Statlander blocks Jaded right into the Sunday Night Fever. So your winner, and the one in 60-1, and new TBS champion, Chris Statlander. It was a heck of a bout, and honestly, it was a nice little return for Statlander. Shout out to my fellow Long Islander. And we got 2 more matches. Your semi-main event. You have the AEW World Heavyweight title on the line in a fatal 4-way match, which features Maxwell Jacob Friedman, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy. And honestly, this was a great match between the 4 of them. At one point, you have these guys hit the finishers of their current/former proteges. So like Jungle Boy hit an Unprettier, Darby Allin with the Scorpion Death Drop, Sammy Guevara with the Judas Effect, and MJF breaking out the Crossroads, because in early AEW, MJF was taught under Cody Rhodes. Then at about the middle point, we get MJF gets a mic. He goes right up to Sammy. He says, "Sammy, I know you have a kid coming." By the way, before the match, Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti revealed they're having a child. He pretty much says, "Think of your child, Sammy. Think of your baby." Then he gives Sammy Guevara the mic. He says, "Yeah, alright, I'll let you pin me." He then lays on the ground. MJF goes for the pin. Psych. Roll up. 1, 2, kick out. Actually, Jungle Boy breaks it up. Then, near the end of the match, you see Jungle Boy in possession of the AEW World title. He has Darby Allin all lined up. Looks like he's going to hit him with the title. Turns out he can't do it. Tosses it back to the outside. Darby Allin with a huge drop kick. And then a heat seeker by MJF. And then the headlock takeover for the 1, 2, 3. Your winner, still AEW champion, MJF. And honestly, I loved this match. This match brought me right back into the show. And there was a great showcase for all 4 of these guys. And finally, we have Anarchy in the Arena as the Blackpool Combat Club. That's Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Jon Moxley take on the full force of the fully reunited Elite. That's Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, and Hangman Page. During the really early part of this match, you have a live band playing Wild Thing. Initially, it was just for the Blackpool Combat Club entrance, but it played during the show. And we went to all points of the arena. Claudio went up to I forget what it's called, the concourse in the arena, which he spun Nick around, which that was crazy. And then they ended up outside somehow, and Claudio hits Nick with a pile driver in the flatbed of a truck. So that takes him out for a little while. Nick then eventually comes back to the ring, hits a super kick in which sparks fly off his foot, which that was nutty. That leads to a 2 count. Then all of a sudden, Don Callis, who I believe was on commentary, gets up, looks like he's going to stop Kenny Omega from doing something. He has the screwdriver. He then bows out while a masked assailant takes out Kenny. And it is revealed to be Konosuke Takeshita, who did team with Kenny Omega for a while, and Don Callis was recruiting him. So I guess that's where that led. Nice little surprise to see, although I'm not sure if Takeshita's in the Blackpool Combat Club, but we'll see. Then we get a Ricola Bomb for the Blackpool Combat Club victory. And honestly, a great way to end a pretty awesome wrestling weekend. I give the whole weekend a big old thumbs up. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Tomorrow, we're back to our regularly scheduled program as I review Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Dynamite. Friday, we got a little bit of a doubleheader as we have NWA's Crockett Cup both on Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to watch through that. I'm going to take some notes, and it'll be great. So look for my predictions for that on Friday. And on Saturday during the day, I'll give my recap for the rest of the shows. It should be a blast, so I hope you stay tuned to that. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the Memorial Day weekend full of wrestling. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Until next time, happy wrestling, everybody.